It's been my observation throughout my life that if you do enough adventure travel, statistically speaking, eventually adversity will rise up and smite you. And if you're not prepared with the equipment, prepared with training, and prepared emotionally, well, it could actually adversely change the trajectory of your life, as opposed to just leaving you with a very colorful story, which is really what you want. A lot of research has been done over the years to determine exactly what are the most highest probable events that can occur that could have an adverse reaction on your trip. So today we're going to talk about a few of those, talk about what you could do to mitigate those situations and be prepared for them. In other words, don't die on vacation. Now, I am far from an expert, but I have done my fair share of motorcycle riding, flying airplanes, backpacking, and similar activities. So I know the risks are out there. I've also participated with the Civil Air Patrol, conducted search and rescue missions, trained as a search and rescue pilot, and attended the Virginia Department of Emergency Services Ground Search and Rescue Training School. So today we want to talk about a few of the top things that can actually bring your trip to a grinding halt and possibly have an adverse reaction on the rest of your life. Statistically speaking, the leading cause of injuries when doing outdoor activities is falling. Well, it's not exactly the fall, it's the stop when you're done falling. And typically that impacts the spine, the heads, and other skeletal parts of your body, which can really cause a problem if you're out in the wilderness away from medical attention. And they don't have to be the spectacular type of fall like the poor gentleman a couple years ago that, while trying to frame the perfect photograph, stepped into the Grand Canyon. You could be standing completely still while taking a cross-country skiing lesson, fall on your back, and actually fracture your spine. And yes, that actually happened to me. I was out of action for a little while, but I healed up just fine. Now, there are things you can do to actually minimize the possibility of a fall, or ensuring that you're not injured when you do fall. For example, if you're into hiking or walking outdoors on any potentially unstable ground or unlevel ground, we like to use trekking poles. This is a telescopic one. It folds up much like a tripod leg, and this way it fits into our travel containers right easily. We have learned to, when we do any hiking or backpacking, we use the trekking poles. I've learned to use these things years ago. We found that not only does it increase the stability of your traveling because it gives you 4 points of contact with the ground, it actually helps take some of the weight off of your ankles, which reduces the fatigue and moves it into your upper body. These things are quite handy. Another thing is the motorcycle helmet if you're into motorcycling. I know it's a very touchy subject with a lot of people. They don't want to wear a helmet. They don't want to be told to wear a helmet. And I'm sort of on board with the philosophy. I don't want to be told what to do, but I want to wear the helmet. And that's a personal decision that I would make. It would mitigate the fall in case you actually lose contact with the motorcycle and you leave and hit the asphalt. And in addition to the motorcycle helmet, I always wear a bicycle helmet when bicycling. A few years ago, I was coming back from a nice long ride of about an hour, and I was within a block or two of my front door, and a person pulled out in front of me with their car. I had to go over the handlebars to take evasive action to avoid being hit by the car, and it pretty much rung my bell because I landed on my shoulder and my head. It destroyed the helmet, which is what it was designed to do, and it also did a pretty good number on my face, but I'm thinking, what would have actually happened had I not had the helmet on? It would have been a lot worse.
Next category is heart attack. 1.5 billion fatalities per year based on heart attack and heart disease related issues. This data is actually kind of sloped towards the older generations. Just because you get older, your heart gets weaker. Here's some statistical information you may not be aware of. Your maximum potential heart rate decreases with age, and there's a formula for that. You take the number 220, subtract your age, and that is statistically your average maximum heart rate. Your heart simply will not beat much faster than that. And as you approach that target number, it's easy for your heart to acquire an arrhythmia, an irregular heartbeat, which can actually result in a cardiac arrest. That's why folks who are out there shoveling the sidewalks from snow in the wintertime tend to die from heart attacks. They're not 24 anymore. They seem to want to perform as if they were. They get the heart rate too high, and they get it over the maximum heart rate, arrhythmia sets in, they die. Or there could just be already a pre-existing condition inside the heart that they weren't aware of, that the blood does not flow as efficiently. So it can be high risk. So how do you beat those odds? Well, number one, you get regular checkups with your doctor. And if, you know, I just have this feeling that anybody above 50, every 5 years or so, you should have a stress test done. Statistically, it seems like I seem to be getting that done pretty much every 5 years. I keep getting a clean bill of health, and so that's one of the ways to do that. And of course, you know, take care of follow your doctor's advice when it comes to your cholesterol and that sort of thing. Know your limitations. Don't push yourself. Good gracious, you know, we get older. It doesn't mean you can't do what you used to do. You just can't do it as fast or as long. So just take it a little easier. Take care of the old ticker. Another one, lightning strikes. 600 deaths per year caused by lightning strikes. One of the things that absolutely surprises me are people who hold umbrellas up over their head as they're walking through the rainstorm and during a summer thunderstorm. Because when you're holding an umbrella over your head, what you're also doing is holding a lightning rod above your head. And yeah, there are YouTube videos of people who are walking across the street with umbrellas during thunderstorms and get hit by lightning. It's preferable just to get wet. A lightning strike can be quite dangerous. It can cause permanent neurological damage if it doesn't kill you outright. It can strike a car, it can strike an airplane, but since you're inside of a metal container, the energy moves around the vehicle, so it generally protects people inside. But motorcycles, that's a different story. People think that the cars are safe because they're on rubber and they're insulated from the ground. Well, the odds are it's raining and the road's wet when you're driving through a thunderstorm, and that water makes a perfect conduit for the electricity. And lightning likes the top of your head going down to the ground. That's a much more efficient conduit as opposed to just the air itself. So, yeah, riding a motorcycle in a thunderstorm, not a good idea. It's one of the things that I try to avoid. Next is snake bites. Now, not as bad as you might think it is. 7,500 snake bites per year in the United States, with only 5 deaths. And oftentimes those folks have pre-existing medical conditions or an advanced age. So that results in a death. Believe it or not, the most common treatment for most snake bites is an observation in the emergency room for a few hours, maybe some antibiotics and an IV to keep you hydrated, and then send you home. It's rare nowadays to get the anti-venom treatment. Several reasons. It has some complications, it has some side effects, and they found that just monitoring the snake bite and let the natural healing powers of the body take care of it. Oftentimes there's no further medical treatment required, and people are sent home after the end of the day, probably with some painkiller, because I understand that that's extremely painful. So what is the medical treatment if you're snake bit in the wilderness? Call 911, get some help, get to an emergency center. Don't cut the wound open. That's old school. You will actually do more damage to the tissue than the snake bite may do. So the current philosophy is to basically just keep the wound clean, get to a medical treatment center. It'll still put you on the sideline for a few weeks and give you a colorful story.
So I want to take a minute to talk about the heat-related issues that can occur with us when we do adventure travel. The human body has a comfort zone and an operational zone that the lower end is about maybe 30 degrees, in the higher ends it's up in the upper 90s. In a comfort zone, which is a little bit narrower than that. And both of those temperatures as we get older get closer and closer together. We can't tolerate the cold or the heat, not just on a comfort level, but on a safety level. The first thing I want to talk about is hypothermia. That's when the body begins to actually cool down. This occurs in several stages. Stage 1 hypothermia is simply when you get chilled, you lose the dexterity in your fingers, and you may notice your decision making is just a little bit cloudy. what you need to do is get your core temperature back up, because the core temperature is beginning to drop, and you do that with fuel, candy bars or a meal, some hydration, stay hydrated, and add some layers. One of the things that makes it worse and accelerates hypothermia is being damp. If you get your torso wet, it wakes the heat away much more quickly and can accelerate hypothermia. Now, how cold does it have to be before you actually experience hypothermia? That could be an issue. Well, temperatures in the 50s can actually do that. So you want to make sure that if you're going to be in an environment where the temperature can drop down into the 50s, you want to make sure you have some gear and equipment just in case. Now, that means anytime year-round. Basically, I know we have experienced conditions in the 50s and rain in the mountains in July, snow in April, snow in June, in the Rocky Mountains, so it can happen anytime. So if you're going to travel, make sure you've got the gear with you to fight off hypothermia. The second stage of hypothermia is when the temperature in your core actually drops to the point where your actual shivering may stop, you're cloudy, your decision making is very fuzzy, you appear to be intoxicated, and your ability to self-rescue is almost non-existent at that point. If you're in that situation by yourself, that can be some serious problems. So you want to, if you run across somebody like that, you want to make sure they get dry quickly and get warm, get hydrated, and get some fuel in their system. Human beings are sort of like steam engines, if you would. We take fuel and water to create the fuel that runs our bodies. So it's easy to get hypothermic while you're dehydrated. So you definitely got to push the fluids even when stamp outside and you're chilled. Now, there used to be an old wives' tale that said if you used to get chilled, why, you could catch a cold. And we thought that with modern science, we thought, well, that only occurs if you have an exposure to viruses, the cold virus. We now know both are actually true. If you are exposed to a cold virus with your immune system has been compromised, and hypothermia will do that. When you have a dose of hypothermia, it will actually cause damage to your immune system. This is temporary, and you can get chilled, get hypothermia, get exposed to a virus, and you can become sick. I know that we had that problem with the Wolf Creek Pass incident. We already suffered from head colds, and we got hypothermia up on the pass, and it got uncomfortable. It really put a damper on the rest of the trip. Now, word of caution, a lot of people think that alcohol is a solution to hypothermia. It actually makes it worse. What alcohol does, it dilates the capillaries close to your skin, so it allows the blood flow to go to your skin and make you feel warmer. Well, unfortunately, what it's actually doing is acting more like a radiator. Those capillaries are opening up, the blood's going to the skin, and it's getting cooler. The whole process of why you don't have the dexterity in your extremities is because the capillaries are constricting to keep the blood supply closer to your core and to keep the overall temperature up so you don't lose that body heat. Alcohol actually is a bad solution for hypothermia. It is not a prevention, it actually aggravates it. Next are the heat issues, heat exhaustion. As you get older, it's much more easier to be overcome by heat exhaustion. When I was in my 18, 20 years of age in the military, I could run around in the hot sun with my field pack on, playing G.I. Joe, and had no problems whatsoever. Sweat a lot, drink a lot of water, no big deal. As you get older, that's not going to happen. You simply got to make sure you're not exposed to periods of high heat for long periods of time as you get older. That's why one of the reasons we wear the mesh jacket with the evaporative cooling vest in the summertime, because that actually helps keep the core temperature down. Heat stroke. This is a call for 911. The symptoms of a heat stroke is your temperature begins to skyrocket. You can actually damage your brain and internal organs, and there is not a whole lot you could do. The body's thermostat has gone haywire, and it's simply from overheating and not enough hydration. So that is, if you ever experience somebody who seems to have a fever while they're out in the hot sun, appears to be disoriented, that's a 911 call. You cannot fix that in the field. Well, speaking of staying outside of the sun too long, even though it's only about 80 degrees, I'm going to pack up and start heading back to the house.
Here are some other tips to help you in the event of unforeseen situations during adventure travel to ensure you won't die on vacation. take a first aid course. They're not that difficult to do. There are different levels of it, but get some basic first aid training and CPR. These things are so simple and so critical. Get a first aid kit, a small one that you can carry with you. Always carry water with you whenever you travel outside developed areas. If you spend a lot of time outside of developed areas, put together a small survival pack, things that will keep you alive for 48 hours. 48 hours tends to be the magic number. Consider carrying an emergency locator beacon. These devices have been around for quite a long time, and nowadays they're GPS and satellite based. So you push the distress button, satellite signal is sent up to the satellite and down to the Search and Rescue Coordination Center, and they will dispatch either the Civil Air Patrol or the Air National Guard to come and get you. If people know where to come find you, the odds are you will be rescued within 48 hours, and that'll give you the guidelines of what you need to carry in your little survival kit to keep yourself alive for at least 48 hours. But these are the basics. Now, this video is not meant to be the be-all, end-all on first aid and survival. It's just an overview to kind of get your brain thinking about things you can do to anticipate and prepare for adverse situations. And of course, always do your own research, do your own training, get your own gear together, and stay alive. So until next time, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and y'all take care. Bye-bye.
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up.
If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Feel free to leave a comment below.